right, welcome to another episode of Heroes And. My name is Andy.
And I'm Cody.
And this is our podcast. But now, CP, it's a YouTube channel.
Yeah, you've always only heard our voices.
Yes.
Unless you're friends with us in real life, I guess.
Yes.
But now, you can get to see our faces as well as listen to us.
Yeah, so we're trying some new stuff out. We're back with an episode of the podcast, but we wanted to see what we can do with YouTube, see if we can start creating some videos for you guys, some content in that regard. And so we're excited about this. And I want to give you an update on the podcast. So kind of give you a little bit update on our lives a little bit too. It's kind of connected, but moving forward, we won't be able to drop an episode on a weekly basis.
I know there's some of you that are throwing your phone across the room.
I know you're
now.
You're
Forget
sad.
it. I'm out.
You're broken. I get that. I'm sorry. But the idea with that is it's just that's a lot of work for us, especially where we are in our lives with families. I'm a dad now, and so it's just a lot to balance and to manage. And so what we plan on doing moving forward is to drop episodes seasonally. And so we would drop them on a seasonally basis, like a seasonal basis.
Right.
And
so are we going to be like the Netflix model?
No.
Or like regular TV?
Regular TV, Hulu,
Okay. So
Disney Plus.
Weekly basis.
Yes.
Not all at once.
Not all at once. Correct. And so the first season.
I should probably know that.
Yeah, that's important. The first season will be the fall 2019 season. And that will kick off at the beginning of October. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited about that. We've seen some YouTube channels do this. We've seen some podcasts do this, that they go on long breaks and then they drop, anywhere from 4 to 8 episodes, 4 to 10 episodes for a season, quote unquote. And so we like that model. It works a lot with our schedule. And
the real thing is we just want to take more vacations.
That's right. That's right. We don't want to work. No, it just works and helps. It works out a lot with our schedule and whatnot. And so that's the plan moving forward. And so we're excited about that. And so what I wanted to do with this episode, CP, Labor Day was just earlier this week.
Right.
School's back in session.
Mm-hmm. Football's here. I'm not really sports.
You love football.
But you've been working on your fantasy draft.
I haven't.
And all that.
So football's back. So what that means is fall is here. But before we dive into the fall, again, fall season will start at the beginning of October. Let's look back at what was the summer of 2019. Mm-hmm. And you can't not talk about summer 2019 and not talk about the biggest movie of all time.
Yep. It is the most money brought in.
Yes.
Finally dethroned James Cameron and his
Avatar.
And his avatars and his Titanics.
Yes.
Of course, we were talking about Avengers Endgame. And so we liked this movie a lot. Yes. I think that's safe to say. I feel like most of the planet liked this movie.
Yes.
There are some that maybe didn't like it as much as others, but we enjoyed it. And so we're here just to talk about that one today. Yeah,
so for this episode, we're talking about Heroes and Avengers Endgame. So let's talk about it. Spoiler alert, you should have seen this already. I mean, it made the most money, like you just said, CP, already. It's already out on DVD, digital, all that stuff. So you have no excuse why you haven't seen it. But in case you haven't, spoiler alert. So let's talk about it. CP, first question. What did you think about the movie, man?
I really loved it. I thought that, I think the most incredible thing about it for me was that it was really a love letter to all of the MCU movies that came before it.
Yeah.
And so, which I think lends itself just to the fact that it was about time travel to some degree, Mm-hmm. And so because of that, they were able to go through back to all these such iconic moments of when the original 6 Avengers first teamed up to fight the Chitauri, and seeing Star-Lord dancing and just, reliving all those moments. I think were my favorite part about it. But I really enjoyed it. Andy?
I loved it, man. It's It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And so I was so nervous I wasn't going to be able to watch it because at the time my wife was pregnant and we were probably about a month away from,
Right.
we got into like the due month when the
Mm-hmm.
movie came out. And so
You were in the end game.
we were in the end game for sure. And so I was so nervous. I know, don't be mad at me, but like my fellow nerds and geeks, like you understand this has been.
No, I'm not judging you.
Yeah.
I've told Morgan that if I knew that this was the last movie that they were ever going to do for the Marvel movies, that we could just start trying to have kids right then.
Yeah.
Because there's no potential of not seeing something right when it first comes out. So no, I'm not judging you.
So I was so nervous. So I was just thinking, our baby can come any day afterwards and I'll be good. But in all seriousness, like I was so excited for it to come out, and when I saw it, I absolutely loved it. It was so good. I enjoyed every moment of it, man. It never felt. I kept on using the word masterpiece just because of what they were able to accomplish, and I know that sounds so cliche at this point, and it sounds very similar. So even what we said about Infinity War,
right?
But I mean, Infinity War, what the directors and the team did was fantastic, but to finish it the way they did, to wrap it up the way they did, there was definitely like we didn't know what to expect with Infinity War,
right?
Once we got out of Infinity War, we just kind of realized how much more pressure was now in this fourth Avengers movie. And so it was a big deal that they landed the plane properly. And they did. So yeah, I kept on saying and using the word masterpiece because they tied up a lot of loose ends. Like they did an amazing job. And they did an amazing job with the character story arcs of like, you just think about, again, spoiler alert, but you just think about a character like Tony Stark. For the first time we see him, selfish,
arrogant,
egotistical, like all those things. So now at the end of the movie, he has a family of his own. He has a different approach to things. He has a different mindset of things. There's a lot for him to lose that he's kind of weighing out. And then at the end, for him to be the one to, sacrifice himself for everyone. Again, it kind of brings that huge story arc to a close. And
right.
So
it's been told over, 11 years, I guess.
Yeah, man.
Which that was what was like crazy to me was that, going into Infinity War, it was like, yeah, they've, aside from like, one or two, they've been successful this whole way. And so my fear was that going into Infinity War and then definitely with Endgame, considering how high the stakes were from Infinity War, my concern was that we were going to get to the end and it wasn't going to be worth it. But I don't think that was the case at all. So yeah, like you said, with Tony, with Black Widow, and even Captain America, like all of these seeds of Captain America, like Ultron tells him in Age of Ultron, you can't live without a war. And then him making that switch and Tony making the switch to saving everybody. Just all of those things that were being played or that were being built up towards this whole time. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. So I just loved it. It was so good. And I saw it like the Thursday night screening of it with Brittany and our good friend Crystal, and it was incredible. And then I saw it again later. So that was Thursday. I saw it Friday night with family that were in town. Saw it then, and again I saw the same thing. Like it wasn't like I didn't necessarily have a different viewing experience. I didn't think differently about it after the second time. I was a little concerned for that second viewing that maybe I was going to feel like it was too long of a movie, but even then, that second viewing, it didn't feel too long. Like I didn't think that like, okay, can we get to the end? Like I was still like just enjoying every moment of it, and so it was great. So there was just a lot. So let's just kind of unpack a little bit. Let's talk about our heroes a little bit. What came of this movie? Like what they experienced in this movie. And let me just get your feedback. What did you think? Did you like? Did you dislike? What are your thoughts on Thor from this movie? So he is broken. You know, he's
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like this is the most I've ever related to Thor.
Yeah, man.
No, I thought what they did, where they went with Thor, was so incredible.
Yeah.
And that's like, talking about the whole storylines is, like, even in Ragnarok, which took place literally like the leading up directly to Infinity War.
Yeah.
Thor learns that he can be a hero without his hammer.
Yeah.
And I know that there are some that would say that, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but regardless of whether the hammer is there or not, he's still powerful. He's just not as powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then, like, all throughout Infinity War, he's trying to get his hammer, and he's like, if I get the hammer, I can stop Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets the hammer, and then he comes, or the axe, I guess.
Yeah.
And comes within an inch
Yeah.
of defeating Thanos. And I feel like, just as a person, that's something we can relate to.
Yeah.
Because I think that as humans, there's obviously, we all fail and have failed.
Yeah.
And come that close to achieving our goal. You know what I mean? And then drop the ball in the last second. And so to see him break and to see him really, like, we know that he's kind of immortal, but like to see him dealing with real struggles and tapping into alcohol and beer to help them, help
video
solve those
games and
just like wanting, he's just wanting to hang out with his bros because that's the only good semblance of good that he has left in his life. I thought was great.
Yeah.
And then seeing him, seeing just the amount of like the amount of love that a mother can have for their son, and how much that can change someone's perspective.
Sure.
I thought it was great because again, and like, otherwise, had he not gone back in time, he wouldn't have had anyone really to talk to that I think could have gotten him a fresh perspective, because his lady left him. And he failed half the universe.
His brother died.
His mom died.
His best friend died. I love that Rocket says, like,
right in
like,
Infinity War. He says
makes all these statements
the toughest, that Thanos is the toughest there is, and Thor says, "What else do I have to lose?" Yeah, and I really think that that's how he felt, and so I thought Thor was great in this movie, and also just the comedy of him being fat, and like the jokes about Cheese Whiz running through his veins, and those kind of things, were just great comedy in the midst of this dark, heavy movie. Yeah,
for sure. I enjoyed Bro Thor, and I thought yes, like everything you said, I'm not gonna repeat it, but the weight of him feeling the consequences of his failure was a real thing. And I know they probably, you can go two different ways with that. You can go silly the way they did, or you can go like super dark depression, like you get what I'm saying? Like you isolate yourself from everyone. Like you can go down that road. They probably went the better road, like, for the sake of the movie. But yeah, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed Thor. Another as I was rewatching it a couple times. So I've had this thought. Maybe when I bought it on DVD, I was rewatching it and I was watching it with the commentary. And I don't know why I had this thought, but I was thinking to myself, it's a silly question, but is Endgame, is this the best Ant-Man movie? Because it's really like, not that it's not about the original six, because it definitely is, like, they're the main heroes of this movie, but like Ant-Man is the one that is, realizes how the time works different in the quantum zone and all that stuff, and is the one that kind of gets the ball moving with bringing everyone back. And so in my head, I was watching, I'm like, is this the best Ant-Man movie that we have seen to date? And I was like, I mean, to his point, they call it a time heist. Like, they even go with like, it feels like an Ocean's 11 kind of a vibe of they're trying to get these things.
And I mean, in his movies, it's been, I mean, at least the first Ant-Man is literally a heist movie.
Exactly. So I was thinking to myself, is this the best Ant-Man movie? It's like, I think it might be the best Ant-Man movie.
And he didn't even have to go up Thanos' butt
he didn't.
To make it great.
No, he didn't. He didn't. But I enjoyed Ant-Man's role in this movie. And then one thing that I thought was great was just seeing everyone trying to deal with the new normal. Right? And kind of realizing, like, especially Black Widow and Steve Rogers, like, him, like, that scene when he's in that support group and he's kind of like...
And he's trying, like, he's still... It's so incredible that he's still... Even though he can't move on, like he says later, he's trying to help other people, you know, get, like, help the world get better.
Yeah.
And you can see from that shot of New York that it's not happening, obviously. I wanted to ask you, talking about how everyone's dealing with it, what did you think about Hawkeye?
So that was a big element of the movie, man. And we were all excited about Hawkeye being in this movie for obvious reasons, but the way it started, the way the movie started, I loved, because it brought us back to this is where we left off with Infinity War, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And so I love the way it started, and just to be able, now the way he dealt with it, I mean, that's
he went the way that Thor could have gone.
Yeah, definitely
for sure.
An unhealthy way of dealing with it. Obviously, there's some connections there with some comic book heroes, like characters who he became. So I appreciate that they did that, but I didn't mind it. It was. I mean, they didn't spend a whole lot of time in that world where he was this new person. Right. He was no longer Hawkeye. He was this you know what I'm saying? Like he was this other character. So, anyways, so I'm glad they didn't spend too much time with him just killing people and assassinating bad guys or whatnot. I'm glad they kind of brought him out of that sooner. But you were able to see that like he was definitely a man on a mission. Like. That's why he volunteered. Like, he's like, I don't care. I lost my family. Like, I want to do whatever it takes to bring my family back. Right. So that's why he didn't mind volunteering to go back to test the suit out and all that stuff. And so, it was good. The one thing dealing with Hawkeye that I thought was a little silly was, when they were getting the Soul Stone. And, it was him and Natasha, and they were... I don't know about you guys. I don't know about you, but I thought it was a little silly how they kept on going back and forth and trying to out-sacrifice the other person. There was a moment that I was like, how long can they keep on like countering each other? I was like, this is impressive. I think I was more impressed with all the counters than I was about the actual sacrifice at the end of it. But I thought that was a little, that was just me being silly. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and it was great to see him, get his family back, obviously. And they utilized him, man. They left him out completely in the Infinity War.
In Infinity War.
So it was good to have him back. And again, it was good to see the original team back together, doing their, their little time heist. But CP, which scene did you enjoy the most? Like, which sub team did you enjoy the most? So obviously, they realized that time travel is a thing. They realized, hey, they have to get the stones back. Right. But which one did you enjoy the most? The New York. They did the Guardians. When they got the stone from Star-Lord, and then of course the Soul Stone, the different location. But which one did you enjoy the most?
I think for me, my favorite was the New York one.
Oh yeah, and then the 2012 New York one, but then there's also the even further back New York,
the 1970s.
Yeah.
Right, so, and I think that one was my favorite because
the 70s or 2012.
I guess more importantly, the 70s.
Okay.
Because obviously I loved Civil War.
Yep.
And one of the things that I was the most excited about going into this movie was seeing Tony and Cap come back together.
Yep.
And so the moment then towards the end, as they're about to leave New York and go back to the 70s.
Yep. When
Tony says, "Do you trust me?" and Cap says, "I do." Like, it was like so much
healing, man.
Healing. Yeah. Like, it was like,
really was.
Order has been restored.
It really was.
The balance is, back in the force. And so it was like, but then, that scene, the 1970s scene really sets up well kind of where both of their journeys are going. Yep. You know what I mean? Yep. And having Tony get to have, because it's kind of implied that he never had a good interaction with his dad that he remembers. Yeah. And so to be able to see that happen as Howard Potts. Yeah. And then to see Cap see Peggy. Yep. And, and be like, realize how much he still loves her. Yeah. I thought was great. So, how about you?
That for me, it was the New York 2012 for sure. But that restoration of that friendship was big, dude. And that's what we talked about. I remember us talking about Infinity War, that they have that Tony and Cap.
Right. The first time they see each other was at the beginning of Endgame. Yeah. When Tony gets back.
Yeah, man. And that's after Civil War. So you got, so they're still not in good terms. And so, man, that scene where he just lets Steve Rogers have it at the beginning of Endgame I felt every emotion, man. And
oh
my gosh,
kind of talking about,
we're going all over the place.
We really are, but it's our podcast. And so, talking about Hawkeye and really just that opening, the whole opening 15 minutes, 20 minutes or so, it was so crazy to me, like how quickly it knocked us immediately back to the same feeling in my chest, of the ending of Infinity War. Yeah. And I think starting with Hawkeye was super smart. Oof, yeah. And then, jumping in with Tony, and Tony's still, as he's making the tapes or the recordings for Pepper, he's still trying to hold on, trying to be hopeful and trying to be Tony. Yeah. But he gets back and he's like, "I lost the kid." And then,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. It's dude, and then when he lets Cap have it, cause he's like, "You were supposed to be there and you weren't," Yeah.
He said the line because he quotes Tony. Tony quotes Steve Rogers when he says, you said you'd be there and we would lose together,
we'll do that together too. He mocks his voice.
Yeah, he does it, man. Oh. It's so good. So finally seeing that, man, that's the kind of stuff that, all the action scenes aside, that's the kind of stuff that's so, for me, man, what they're doing with these characters and these real feelings, man, are really so good and important. But going back to your original question, my favorite going back in time thing was 2012. And them making fun of Captain America's suit and the Iron Man, like everything of even the Hulk when he's, hey, take the stairs, man. All that stuff was a lot of fun. And that elevator scene was fantastic because I totally fell for the bait. I thought it was going to play out the same way it did in Winter Soldier. I was like, oh, we're going to see this again, which I'm not in a bad way. I was okay with. Yeah. In a very positive way. Sweet. I get to see this awesome scene again, right? But that wasn't the case. So it was so smart to bring in that small little Hail Hydra line from the comics that, not that long ago came out, and I freaked out inside. I remember like getting Brittany's attention with her arm, like he's good. Cause at first I thought it was going to be the fight scene. When I saw that wasn't going to happen. And when he looked over to, to
Sitwell.
Yeah. At that point I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to say it. Like that's what they're doing. And so that's when I was like, Brittany, and it was so smart. So that was great. Him and Cap, like Captain America versus Captain America was great. And then it validated one of my biggest frustrations or statements or points about the Captain America character was that as honorable and as great and as fantastic as he is, I love Steve Rogers.
Steve Rogers is to Bucky Barnes as Superman is to Kryptonite.
Exactly. So I always said, man, like, it's crazy, but like that Bucky is such a big deal to Steve Rogers. And I get it, you know, friendships,
besties,
sure, but yeah, I get it. But it's so crazy that really kind of blinds him in an unhealthy way, and it takes his attention off of what's really the goal, or maybe what's most important in that moment. And so for 2019, you know, future Captain America to say to 2012 Captain America, hey, I know, you know, Bucky Barnes is still alive or Bucky's still alive. It just validates, like, yeah, that's been his biggest blind side. You know, his biggest blind spot has been Bucky Barnes. And so I enjoyed it. I kind of felt, I don't know if I necessarily needed the validation, but I felt like, okay, the Russo brothers, like, yep, I was right. Thank you for acknowledging that.
I think it's just your pride.
I think
is really the root of the issue.
I think so too. But but that was probably my favorite. Seeing the Hulk talk to the Ancient One was really cool. That was a lot of fun too. I enjoy that, and I enjoy the realization that she makes that if Stephen Strange gave up the Time Stone, that it was because he knew what he was doing, and so that's why she gave it to him. Like, I thought that was so wise. I know she's the Ancient One, like, I know, but that's why she is who she is. But it was so wise to understand that, and so that was definitely my favorite one, was for them to go back to 2012. CP, we've talked a lot about our heroes, and we can still keep on talking about our heroes, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the big bad of the movie, and that, of course, is Thanos. We saw him in two forms this movie. So right up front, they kill, you know, Thanos. Thor goes for the head, and they kill him, but they don't bring balance. They don't bring everyone back, so that doesn't really help. But then we see that there's a new Thanos, which is from the previous timeline, 2012 Thanos or 2014 Thanos, whatever the timeline is. But what did you think about Thanos in this movie?
So I definitely think that this Thanos was scarier. I kept reading stuff online about, like, the Russo brothers were making it. Like, they talked about the Thanos from Infinity War as, like, having been enlightened.
Okay.
And I was, I to some degree, I think I'm still a little confused as to what they're meaning there. Because to me, it's like, his goal hasn't changed, you know what I mean? I guess maybe he's just a little more, you know, frustrated and more mad in this movie.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's what, you know, they're kind of alluding to. But I thought it was cool to see him, you know, we kind of see it a little bit in Infinity War, but see him really fighting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And proving that he's not powerful just because of the stones, I guess, you know? And like he still is taking on all three of the, like he's taking on the big three, you know, Cap, Thor, Iron Man. He's taking on those three and still able to, like, beat them, really, you know what I mean? And, like, and he doesn't even have a gauntlet, you know what I mean? And so I thought it was cool to see that and get that validation that, yeah, he's not powerful just because of the stones, because he's kind of the whole time is, at least early on in the MCU, he's just having other people go get the stones. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, I really love in Infinity War and in this one, all of his dialogue, I think, is so, like, it's so epic
and inspirational,
and it's weirdly way. like it weirdly gets me hyped.
It does.
Like, you couldn't live with your own failure, and here we are. You know, like, I feel like he's like, I feel really like he's in a wrestling ring.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
He's good on the mic.
Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, man.
And they know, he's the likable villain. You know what I mean?
For sure, man.
And so yeah, I like it's crazy to me how likable he is.
Yeah.
You know, even despite how much pain he caused.
Yeah.
You know, to us, and so. Yeah, I loved Thanos.
He was brutal, man. The whole time I'm watching that last fight scene, I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, it's Cap, it's Iron Man, it's Thor with 2 hammers." I'm thinking
he got this.
He doesn't have the gauntlet. I'm thinking this is gonna be light. Like I wasn't even thinking about the other people that needed to come back. Right. I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was just thinking these 3 versus this guy. And he doesn't have the gauntlet.
It's 3-on-1. I feel like that's easy, man.
I thought it was solid. I thought it was for sure in the bag. All of a sudden, these guys are getting whooped by Thanos. And I'm thinking, what in the world? They're still to this day, when I'm watching that fight scene, I'm thinking, how strong is this guy? They made him out to be just a powerful titan. I mean, that's what he is. Like, you know, and so it was so impressive. And that's what I remember thinking the first time I watched it, and still to this day as I watch it again. He is so strong and he is so vicious and powerful and violent. I love when you first time you see him when he's walking back onto his ship.
He cleans off his his helicopter sword or whatever.
Yeah, his blade. And he's just like in slow motion. I'm like, this guy is a gangster. Like I'm like, this guy is awesome. But it really was excuse me. It was so impressive, and I was blown away that they weren't able to defeat him. And I loved it. Here's maybe to unpack the whole, like the Russo's comment and whatnot, the Russo brothers comment about Thanos. It almost felt like with Infinity War Thanos and then Endgame Thanos, it's almost like an athlete who maybe like in Infinity War, they're still really good, but now they have experience. Now they have they've been to the championship game. They know what it takes. So they have the wisdom, like the mindset to be in that. Where Endgame Thanos is just going off of pure athleticism, pure skills and talent. So it's like makes sense. So that's how I thought about it too. I'm like the Thanos that we see in Infinity War. He knows what the end goal is. He knows what's important, and it's not all about brute strength and all that stuff. But the Endgame Thanos that we see, it's a younger, quote unquote, if we can say that, but younger Thanos who is still just getting after it, just off of pure skills and whatnot and strength. But I loved him, and it was so good.
I will say this, with not necessarily with Thanos, but with his family, his children, they, to me in Endgame, it felt like they were taken care of way too easily.
Sure,
because Corvus Glaive. I'm trying. Which is the giant one? I'm
can't bad with the names. Yeah,
I know Ma doesn't die, I think, until the snap. But there's 2 or 3 of them
that get taken out
just by like one of them. The big guy gets stepped on by Ant-Man.
Yeah,
and it just it felt a little bit like these guys were such a big deal in Infinity War that it was like Tony couldn't beat them. You know what I mean? And Strange couldn't beat them.
Yeah, and
then in this one, it's like they kind of just quickly are dealt with just on the battlefield, just with any of the other,
To your point, people. and I this kind of segues into another thought, but I wasn't even I almost forgot about them, to be honest with you, and that's some people may complain about that, like what you just said, you had an issue with that, a minor issue or whatnot.
I mean, I know that there's other things going on, so it's not like a big deal, but it's it's just like
noticeable. It was just noticeable. Yeah. For me, I didn't even I completely forgot about that, not in a negative way, but it's because I was so in awe of everything else that I was watching that I was like, what was happening in front of me.
Yeah.
And that leads me to a question. CP, be honest. How many times did you cry during the first viewing of this movie?
I think it was 3. I know for sure that it was 3. I want to say it was probably, there was definitely 3 ones where there was actual tears.
Sure.
There was, I think, up to 5 where there was some sort of liquid in my eyes.
Up to 5. I for sure know that it was 3 for me.
The 3 for me were when Hawkeye, like I guess the whole thing with Natasha, when Natasha dies.
Okay.
When Hawkeye is realizing, that she's gone.
Sure.
When Tony dies. Obviously,
sure,
for obvious reasons. And then there were tears. I think just of the first time the first time was with when Tony got back. When Tony got back, just the opening of.
Okay.
When he got back to Earth.
Yes. Okay.
The watery eyes were tears of joy when Tony and Spider-Man see each other again. And then. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what the last time was.
So I think,
when Tony gets back, that whole next time where Rocket reaches out to Nebula.
Oh yeah.
Oof, it was just we're just sitting in our failure. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness. So I know
Hawkeye was right before that. Hawkeye's family. So it was ooh.
It was rough. I definitely cried 3 times. I think I got watery eye for a 4th time at the end with Cap. When you realize when they show him dancing with Peggy. But I know the 3 times I cried was when the circles started coming back, because I was in the middle of feeling the doom for Captain America all over again, because at that point his shield's broken. He does the strap, right,
to seal up his wound.
Yeah, all that stuff, right. And so at that point I'm like, oh my goodness, is this what's about to happen? So then to see the circles and to hear Falcon,
it's crazy because in that moment, I totally forgot that they had snapped everybody.
I know, dude. It
was to me. I totally in my mind, this is it. We're about to lose again.
I know. I don't know why that was the case, but I completely forgot that they pulled it off. I think they did just a good job. That as soon as Hawkeye realizes that the snap worked, that they brought everyone back. That's when, a minute later, that's when Thanos' ship shows up and blows up, attacks the headquarters. So, I don't know, but I was with you, man. I completely forgot. Oh, yeah, they sent everyone back. Our hero should be backups on his way. I completely forgot about that. So, Circle shows up. You hear Falcon, he says, what, on your right?
He says on your left.
On your left, right? Yeah. And so that part... That's when I cried, because I was like, oh my gosh. So then seeing all the circles happen, all of them come back, this epic, I'm getting chills. I know it's so cheesy, but I'm getting chills right now thinking about the, all of our superheroes returning, Star-Lord, Spider-Man, Strange, all of them. You got all the ladies, it's incredible, right? So... that I got, chills, tears of happiness. Oh my goodness, this is amazing. And then him saying "Avengers Assemble" finally, oof, it was amazing. So that definitely got a cry. I think I cried when I saw Cap and Spider-Man. Tony and Spider-Man when they hugged it out and he just embraced
Spider-Man. He's like, oh, this is nice.
This is nice. Yeah, he just embraces him. And then at the end when Tony Stark,
that's my guy. You know that.
Yeah, I know. But hearing
Pepper, I'm ready to get a tattoo. Viewers, you don't know. Andy knows this. I'm ready to get a tattoo that says "Part of the journey is the end."
It's for real.
So love is real for that Tony Stark.
So what Pepper says to him about how he can rest, that they're okay, that kind of stuff, man. And I don't know if it's because I'm a dad now, but it hit me before I was a dad, but officially a dad, But man, that thing that hit me right here in the heart. So I definitely, it was just an amazing movie, man. What's crazy is the Natasha death. For some reason, that didn't hit me as hard as
I think it was more.
I don't know why I didn't feel as much.
I don't know what's wrong with endings.
I don't know.
I think it was more the Hawkeye's reaction.
Sure.
You know, like when he gets up and he has the stone, but he's still like, you know, like he just starts crying right there in that moment, you know.
Yeah.
And then he comes back, you know, to New York, or he comes back to the Avengers, you know, headquarters, and he like regrows, you know.
Yeah.
And then he immediately falls to his knees, like, you know.
Yeah.
Still just like so upset. And it's kind of cool, just also an interesting parallel of like the way Thanos reacts to it.
Oh yeah.
And the way, you know, Hawkeye reacts to it. Like, you know, Red Skull's whole thing is that there's a cost to get the Soul Stone. You know what I mean? And so then to see the difference of, like, obviously Thanos is still upset, but he's upset, but he's like, this is what I got to do, you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like Hawkeye, there's a moment of Hawkeye like wondering if it was worth it. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for her movie that's coming out here in a little bit and all that. But there was something about I don't know, like her death that it didn't.
I think to some degree her death, like knowing about her movie, probably like it's like this isn't the last time. Maybe we'll see her.
Maybe that.
Obviously, I mean, we pretty much know this is the last time we will see, you know, Cap, and this is the last time we'll see Tony.
Yeah, but yeah, man, that kind of leads. And we can unpack more about the movie, but kind of leads to the last thing is like, hey, where do we go from here from the MCU? Obviously, you know, Far From Home came out, and it was essentially like showing how the world kind of has
dealt with the blip.
Yeah, in a real way. Mm-hmm. So that was cool to see. From a fan base, like news has come out since then about movies and TV shows that are coming out on Disney Plus. We realize that they're, you know, now it makes sense how they're gonna do a Loki show now. Right. Even thinking about the Guardians, we know how Gamora is going to be part of the Guardians movie, you know, moving forward and stuff like that. And so, of everything that was announced, I mean, it's been a lot since San Diego Comic-Con and D23. CP, is there one thing or a couple things that you're like, yep, here's my money, take it now, I'm in, you know, the 7:00 showing of this movie.
For sure. It's Thor, Love and Thunder.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I'm so glad to see more of Thor, more of Taika Waititi coming back. I'm so excited to see Natalie Portman as Thor.
Not Lady Thor.
Not Lady Thor. Don't call her girl Thor.
She's Thor.
She's Thor. Period.
Yeah.
Thor the Mighty, I think, is maybe what they call her in the comic. But I'm excited for that. I loved Ragnarok so much. And so to see more of that direction and that kind of style for Thor, I'm excited about. I'm also just excited that despite, you know, the finality, I guess, of Endgame, we're not done with all of the big Avengers, you know what I mean? Or all of the original 6 necessarily.
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying.
You know, because obviously, I think the only ones that definitely are off the bus are Steve
to quote Robert Downey.
To quote Robert Downey Jr. He's the one who said that's not original thought. Robert Downey Jr. said, "You want to get off the bus before they tell you to get off the bus."
Yes, right.
You know, and so and he said that it was the right time for Chris Evans and for him to move on. Yeah. And I think that that is awesome, but it'll be. I'm hoping that, you know, for the next team up movie, then which I assume will still be called Avengers. Yeah. But whatever the next team up movie is, my hope is that that Hulk is still there. Yeah. And that Thor still shows up. You know, even in that movie, hopefully Thor has lost a little bit of weight. I would love to see that. Like maybe by Love and Thunder, he's like lost a little bit of weight, but he's still like He's not like he's like dad bod Thor, you know, like he was like fat Thor, beer belly Thor.
But you can see he's
but
working.
You can
on
see
it.
that he's working. You can see that he's getting after it. He's doing Whole30. You know, he's
exactly. There's a work in progress.
Work in progress.
That's
Thor.
right. That's right.
I think would be awesome. But how about you, Andy?
I think I'm excited for I'm gonna be a little bit of like the negative guy here. I'm excited about honestly probably. If I stop and think about it, Hawkeye, I'm excited about that. But honestly, I think I'm not that the other stuff doesn't get me excited. Oh, the Strange movie.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited about that.
That kind of gets me. Yeah, that gets me excited. But I think I'm a little spoiled up to this point. So I want to know what they're gonna do with X-Men and Fantastic Four. More than like the stuff.
You're more interested in that than than people we know, I guess.
And they haven't said anything about that, right? But I mean, they made a lot of announcements. Black Panther 2, you know, they still have Guardians 3, they still have Captain Marvel. You know, like they have so many things.
We would be getting Guardians 3 like this May.
I know.
Had
the whole thing.
Anyway, that's
but yeah, so like of the projects that they have announced, of course I'm there, I'm in it, I'm for it. But I think I'm excited more about what they're gonna do with X-Men and Fantastic Four. And recently, maybe in the last month and a half, in the comic world, Hickman, he's a writer. Hickman, he is writing now the X-Men comics. So so that's gonna be that's been a lot of fun and good stuff has been coming out of that. And so it's positioning the X-Men back to where they need to be in a level of importance, not just like, hey, take a back seat.
Because it kind of seemed like for a while in the comic book world that the X-Men and the Fantastic Four at the end of Secret Wars, right? They were just like, they're just gone somewhere. We don't really know where they're at.
Yeah. So they've a lot of those other teams and characters that kind of have taken a back seat. So to see X-Men now, you know, having the proper place at the table is exciting. In the comic book world, that's super exciting. So I'm interested for that. Yeah. But that's still no news has been announced or anything has been said about that. But
I was dreaming and hoping recently with our friend Jared.
Yeah.
And I was like, because we were talking about who could pick up the mantle of Wolverine.
Yep.
Hugh Jackman obviously played the role. He was like for 18 years or whatever.
Something like that, yeah.
And so it was like, who could follow in his footsteps and it be a new take without it like, because obviously anytime you're going up against a character that iconic, you're Will Smith versus Robin Williams.
Yeah.
With the genie. Like,
it's going to happen.
There's going to be a lot of tension there. Yeah. And so I was just dreaming that the way that they would bring Wolverine in is that we would see like that there would be a camera shot that opens on his grave from Logan. Okay. And then he comes back. Like he's like somehow he died in Logan, but like he's awoken somehow his healing factor kicks back in.
Sure.
Whatever it is, he comes back and you just see him come out of the grave and then it's just old man Logan. So then it's like Hugh Jackman doesn't have to be doing stupid stunts. He doesn't have to be super fit because he's old man Logan.
He's just old man Logan.
And then, you can see like it could be years later. So we could still have X-23 in to do the more like, cool Wolverine kind of stuff. But
I thought that's what you were going to say. I thought you were going to say that it was.
I would love to see I think X-23 will be a part of the the future of the X-Men movies in the MCU. But I was just hoping, like, what if we could have Old Man Logan and it still be Hugh Jackman? I would take that over a
new actor,
a young new Wolverine.
Snaps. Okay, all right. That's bold.
I mean, who else?
I mean, I don't know if I don't have an actor in mind to say, oh, this is a perfect person. Go ahead, cast him. Go ahead, he's in. I don't have that person in mind, but I just feel like it. I think someone new is what we need.
I know.
Is what we need, or maybe it's just what I want. But
I mean, we've seen successful reboots and recastings with Spider-Man. Yeah. I feel like that's going to happen again.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Also, update. What are your thoughts? And we'll end with this. what are your thoughts on the Sony MCU Spider-Man stuff?
It breaks my heart. It really does. When that, like, I can't remember what day that news came out. Like, you remember being in high school and like you have a bad breakup and you're for sure that this girl was the one, and you're like 14. What do you know about the one?
This is my ride or die.
Unless your name's Ricardo, you don't know anybody. you're not picking a good spouse. But I remember being, like when that came out, like I just wanted to go lay in bed. Like the rest of the day, I was like, what? I just need to. I'll wake up tomorrow and this will all be a dream.
That's right, man.
Because I'm struggling to figure out how on both sides of it. Like, where does Marvel go if without Spider-Man, the way that he's been set up and the way that Far From Home set him up? Yeah. How do they just pretend?
Yeah.
That he's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that he's not there. But then also, how does Sony pretend that he wasn't in the MCU? Because he's like his whole identity is wrapped up in
with the Tony
with Tony Stark. Like they have never once mentioned Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah. The closest they said, they haven't even straight up said with great power comes great responsibility.
No.
Which I don't think they need to because we all know that that's part of who Spider-Man is.
Yes.
But I'm just really trying to figure out on both sides, where do they go? I'm really hoping that the internet freaking out and the collective it won't happen. Jeff Goldblum was upset.
It won't happen, man. I think the split's done, man. I think the split is real. I don't think there's no making up. I would love for it to happen, like for them to come together. I'm not saying, but I just don't think it's gonna.
That would suck.
It would suck. Just give me
What's
more.
What's gonna happen is they're gonna. Like, I feel like after Doctor Strange's movie, somehow when reality comes back, it's like Spider-Man just wasn't there.
That'd be nuts if that's what they do to. That's the equivalent of writing.
That's like a Days of Future Past.
No, that's like writing a breakup song about your ex. Like if for the MCU to do that and this to completely wipe him out of that of their timeline.
That's what they'll have to do.
I know, but like that's equivalent to T Swift or thank you next or Ariana Grande
right look what you made me do. Look what you made me do, Sony.
That's what's gonna happen. That'd be nuts, man. I'm here for the multiverse. I'm here for the Miles. I
will say this.
I'm here for that.
I would love to see talking about Into the Spider-Verse and how just keeping Tom Holland. I would love for Tom Holland live action to be in Into the Spider-Verse. Mm-hmm. So he goes into the Spider-Verse, but he stays live action
the whole time. Like Mary Poppins,
like Mary Poppins and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So Miles is animated.
I don't know.
Miles is. I don't know. Follow me. Think about it, because there's other universes. Maybe in the other dimensions are animated. You know what I'm saying?
If we lose, we'll lose together too, Cody. But I don't know if I want to lose.
If you're willing to make that sacrifice.
I don't know. Man.
I think it would be fun. Maybe I'm weird.
I don't know.
I also saw there was a meme or it was a post on the internet that was talking about when Deadpool finally makes it to the MCU, because we know he's the one that we know he's probably not getting changed.
Yeah,
he's still it's still Ryan Reynolds. His movies are still going to be R. I think Bob Iger outright said that he'll probably be PG-13 when he's in other movies. Mm-hmm. But there was a post on the internet that said that he will when it shows up or he shows up. There's a shot in his apartment. And sitting on his couch is Tom Holland, not Peter Parker, but
just the actor,
just Tom Holland. And then at some point, either Nick Fury, somebody comes in there and they're like, "Peter, where have you been?" or "Parker, where have you been?" And then Deadpool's like, "No, you can't call him that. That's Tom." And it's like, and then Deadpool's like they were joking about Deadpool saying he's in the Sony Witness Protection Program, and then they took it a step further of like Tobey Maguire steps out from the kitchen is like, who wants waffles, and then Andrew Garfield steps out and is like, I'll take two, so like all three of the Spider-Man are there, which obviously that's I mean it would be great and it would totally make sense in a Deadpool movie.
That's it,
but it would just be funny. So. Yeah. But yeah, I was so upset about that. I'm still upset. I'm upset now.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get you in a bad mood. But that is our episode of Heroes and Avengers Endgame. Thank you guys so much for listening and for viewing. So help us out. If you are part of Team Heroes and help us out with a couple ways. First off, subscribing to the podcast, to the channel, whatever you listen however you listen to us.
If it's on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, hit that follow, hit that subscribe button
for sure. And then also on YouTube, man, we would love for you to subscribe to the channel, like the video. That goes a long way. As we get this channel up and running, and it really is. We're starting from ground zero to some degree from day one with the channel, and so we need your support. We need your subscribes, your likes, all that stuff, and so just help us out. That'd be great. CP, I'm excited for this these upcoming seasons. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a good time, man. So, listeners, thank you so much for listening, for viewing, all that stuff. I'm Andy,
and I'm Cody,
and we're out.